Be advised, the opinions and views of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. Welcome to our show, Heartbeat.
Ay, marami pong salamat.
Marami rin yung lalaki. Ayaw rin ng divorce.
Change, meaning introduction of new policies.
Natutuwa ako na
And all that, or just katito.
Buwan ng linggo ng kanyang panunungkulan.
It went from 5 peso and 30 centavos.
Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. Welcome to our show, Heartbeat Live. I'm your host, Ray Rosa. We'll be together for the next hour or so. And we will be discussing, parang balik tayo dito. We are going to review a certain thing that's about to happen that has to do with our elections na dadating po dito sa taon na ito, na babalikan natin. Yung mga problema po tungkol doon sa mga PCOS machines and how the COMELEC handled it in the past election. We're gonna do an update, and we decided to invite here two people that are very, very important to us and who have been very knowledgeable, deeply involved in all of these issues. One from a technical standpoint in terms of the competence of the system and the software and the problems that have been encountered in the last elections regarding this computerized tabulation, voting and tabulation, and then also some of the constitutional issues that are involved in this whole thing. Kailangan kasi hiwalayin yung dalawang yun. Hindi naman pwedeng basta pagsamahin. Kailangan to appreciate one kasi itong question ng problema sa sistema is a matter of fact. It can be proven. It has to be. We have to be able. It has to be proven that the allegations of defects in the system, the allegations of etc. Kailangan mapatunayan yan in a court of law. And then maybe the constitutional issues can be handled as far as the Supreme Court is concerned. But before we get there, and I introduce to you our guests for tonight, or one of them anyway, yung ating text promo winner from our last program when we handled the expectations for 2013, especially na-stuck tayo sa agrikultura, kung maalala po ninyo. Well, the first winner is 0919-929-8293 from Elson Gilza of Coronadal, South Cotabato. Ito ang sabi niya, today we are actually governed by the culture of consumerism. The oligarchs only control our economy. The Philippine government naman sunod-sunuran sa Western culture and dictated by the U.S. government. Ang government natin is always practicing the approved without thinking framework. They always think of money and profit and disrespect the sanctity of life. Thank you. Wow, alam po ninyo, napakadami nating problema kailangan tingnan regarding sa paraan ng pamumuhay natin. Totoo po na napakalaking problema ang consumerism. And that there are some people who think that growth, that's the only thing that matters. That kailangan dito ang gross domestic product mo, lumalago ng ganito, ito tumaas lang from 4.1 to 6%. Woo! Bibida na ng gusto ang pamahalaan. Pero hindi nila alam po ninyo ang mahalaga sa growth rate ng ating buong ekonomiya, kung yung benepisyo ay bumababa hanggang doon sa ilalim. Yun ang mahalaga. So the government should not really look at what is happening in terms of the total economy, but must look in terms of the quality of that growth at kung nakikinabang ba yung mga pinakamaliliit na mamamayan. In other words, is the economic system extractive or truly inclusive? Yan po ang mahalagang malaman. So, tama sa akin po, tama yung komentaryo yun. Yung pangalawang nanalo naman is 0947-516-7195, si Fritz Gerald A. Garcia from Surigao del Norte. Totoo ang sinasabi mo na mayaman tayo. I-reaction po yun sa komentaryo ng isa na mapulubit ng bansa natin. Sabi ko, hindi, mayaman tayo dito. Napakahirap naman isipin yung mga sinasabi ninyo kasi po, napakalaking kalaban yung gobyerno. Gumagamit sila ng baril sa mga tao na hindi nakikinig sa kanila. Siguro dapat magpalit ng sistema. Wow. Alam po ninyo, I was involved in the last charter change attempt, And so you don't have to convince me. I believe that maybe some really fundamental adjustments in our system of governance is very, very necessary in order to make it less centralized, to be able to decentralize the powers, but at the same time establish a system of checks and balances so that there is no abuse that is readily possible at the different levels of government. Mahalaga po yan. Okay. Ito, gusto ko lang magkomentaryo because we got a text. Hindi namin pwedeng isama doon sa mga nanalo kasi hindi naman nagpulgay ng pangalan. Kailangan po lalagay niyo yung pangalan niyo kung saan kayo nandun. Ito sabi niya, 0949-392-0158. Sir, magpa-scout ka sa akin. Ang rice farming pwede hindi gamitan ng herbicides. At wala ring peste at black bug maski mauna o mahuli pa ang 30 days sa pagtanim at maski na hindi ako magpa-spray ng pesticide. Sa isang hektar, gagamitan lang ng 1 sack ng fertilizer, pwede ka mag-produce ng 7 to 8.5 tons. You know, that's true. Ang question ko lang dito, kasi hindi maging malinaw doon sa texter natin, teka muna, yung lupa ba may patubig? Is it irrigated o walang? Kasi ang dami ng ani sa lupa ay question na kung meron kang patubig o wala, lalong-lalo na po sa bigas. Kung magtatanim ka ng bigas, na totoo po, kailangan talagang maiangat na ng maigi ang ating yield kada hektarya sapagkat lahat ng bansang paligid natin na natutulang doon sa International Rice Research Institute dito sa Los Baños, abay mas malaki na ang kanilang ani kaysa sa atin. Kawawan, dito nasa bansa lang sila natuto. Pagdating doon, mas magagaling pa sila sa mga dito sa Pilipinas. Parang, bakit ba nahihirapan tayong tanggapin yung mga bagong at mas mahusay na paraan ng pagpapatubo ng ating mga tinatanim? Okay? Yan po ay napakamahalaga. Alright. So, we are sending those first two texters their electronic load na tig 100 piso. Huwag po sana kayo mamaliitin yung maliit na pinadadala namin. Pero yun po ang ating makakaya ngayon. Pero, I want to go now to our topic for this evening. At ito po ang unang panauhin na ipakikilala ko sa inyo, yung pangalawang panauhin natin, ay dadating din siya. Medyo natatraffic lang po daw dyan medyo sa Makati Ave. Ngayon, papakilala ko sa iyo si Mr. Toti Casino. Siya po ang presidente ng Philippine Computer Society. Dati na nating suki ito si Katoti rito, ilang beses na naging panauhin. As we were giving you from time to time report on the status of the computerized counting machines and voting machines. Alam po ninyo, hindi tayo tutol sa computerization. At kanga napakabilis ng resulta, no? Sa lugar na maghintay tayo ng isang buwan, after 2 to 3 days, alam na natin kung sino ang nanalo. Kanya lang, dahil naman sa computerized itong sistemang ito, kailangan din tayong mag-iingat ng maigi kung ikangat, madali rin dayain Madali ding mamanyobra yung makina. Hindi naman siya sinasabi kung huwag kayo maniwala sa sistemang ito. Kanya lang, napakadami na tayong nadinig sa mga daning programa, hindi lang dito, maski na si Katoti, meron din siya kanyang programa. Napapag-usapan din ito. And I think it's very, very important na maging palagay ang kalooban ng taong bayan na yung kanilang binoboto, whether manual or electronic, is accurate at binibilang ng tama, walang dagdag bawas. Okay? So, Katoti, ano bang status niya? Kasi alam ko, nagdesisyon ng Supreme Court kontra sa inyo tungkol sa kasong na-file sa Supreme Court. I think madami ata yun. Apat ba yung kasong na-file?
Apat na petitioners.
Apat na petitioner. At parang tinaboy ng Korte Suprema. Ngayon, are you familiar with the facts of the case? Anong nangyari? Anong naging base ng Korte Suprema na hindi nila, hinatulan ba nila yung mga limitasyon at problema sa sistema na naipahayag natin sa Korte Suprema o hindi?
Ang pinapalabas ng desisyon ng Korte Suprema na hindi nila katanggap-tanggap yung aming oposisyon sa
Bakit?
Kasi daw,
hindi naman sila computer literate.
Palagay na natin. Pero ang punto nila, ano daw ang aming solusyon? Sa palagay namin na hindi na namin responsibilidad magbigay ng solusyon. Ang sinasabi namin na ino-oppose namin ang pag-exercise ng option to purchase sa dami ng mga pagkukulang ng sistema na hindi na remedyo, na hindi na correct.
So hindi nagkaroon ng pagkakataon or nagkaroon ba ng pagkakataon ang COMELEC para sabihin, itong sinasabi nilang objection na itong remedyong ginawa namin. Itong objection na itong remedyong ginawa namin. Ginawa ba nila yon?
Sa kanilang pananalita, sa kanilang pagpaliwanag, nagawa na nila. Pero hindi
nila sinasabi kung paano ginawa para masiyasat ng maigi.
Ganun na nga yun. Kumbaga kung yung testigo ng kanilang abogado, yun ay tinanggap na ng Korte Suprema. Yun ay yung pinakano. Maging tama man o mali, hindi na nila kine-question yun. Doon kami nagtataka. Katulad ng isa, sinabi nila na ang digital signature daw ay yung makina na daw ang pipirma ng mga resulta. At sinabi nila, ang digital signature ay katulad na rin yung katapat na nung nakalagay sa batas. Sinasabi na hindi kaparesan, pero hindi na kami nagkaroon ng rebuttal tungkol doon. So, yan ba'y tatanggapin ng korte sa pagpaliwanag ng isang abogado? Tinanggap. Pero kung tutusin mo, kung iahambing mo yan, so ano ba talaga ang ginagamit namin sa industriya, hindi tapat yun.
Well, alam mo, kanina napapag-usapan natin, tama ka. Kasi final yung kaso sa Korte Suprema, hindi na dumaan sa lower court.
Sa lower courts.
Okay. And that is sometimes a risky process.
Yeah.
From a legal standpoint, mula po sa mga abogado, ang Korte Suprema natin, ang pangunang layunin nila ay maghatol tungkol sa kaso na dumaan sa proseso.
Correct.
Okay? Muna sa lower court, pagkatapos sa Court of Appeals, pagkatapos sa Korte Suprema.
Correct.
Kung saan ang question ng kung ano ang katotohanan o what is fact,
Factual.
ano talagang nangyari, ano talagang sitwasyon, nasisiyasat at nasusuyod ng maigi. Ayon sa testimonyo ng mga eksperto, o kaya doon dahil sa mga written or other forms of evidence,
Yes.
nasisiyasat. And the lower courts, the courts of first instance or the regional trial courts, doon sa level nila, nasisiyasat ng maigi dyan at dyan nagtatalo ang mga abogado tungkol sa ebidensya, etc. etc. Na kung tutulang isang tao, o isang parte, i-aapila ngayon yung whatever is that decision, pwedeng i-apila yan sa Court of Appeals. Tapos, ang Court of Appeals talaga, ang sadya nila ay siyasatin ang mga desisyon ng regional trial courts. Okay? At maski na question of fact, pwede nilang tingnan.
Correct.
Pero, ang sinasabi ng Supreme Court, pero pagdating sa mga kasong dinadala sa Korte Suprema, hindi questions of fact na ang tinitingnan, but simply questions of law. Pero sa akin, kung hindi dumaan sa proseso ng Regional Trial Court of Appeals, they will have to accept certain allegations, I guess, from one party to the other as to what happened.
Hindi. Ito yan na. Hindi consistent ang Korte Suprema eh. But, meron isang kaso na sampan nung laban ng IT Foundation versus COMELEC and Mega Pacific. Anong desisyon ng Korte Suprema? Binasura ang kontrata ng COMELEC sa Mega Pacific. Naiiba yan dito na binasura nila ang petisyon. Ngayon, ano daw ang charges ng petitioner? Isa lang ang petitioner nun. Ang charges daw, nagkaroon daw ng, yung kumpanya daw na Mega Pacific, binuo lang daw, bago lang. At daw hindi daw nag-comply doon sa 99.995 na alam nila na typographical error. At dahil daw doon, at sinabi pa nga ni Justice Panginiban, ang siyang mismong ponente ng desisyon, at sabi daw nila na bumili daw ng produkto na hindi tapos. At putting it a disadvantage. Samantalang nung dinemonstrate yun ng buwan ng Agosto, bago nung Mayo, maaga pa para malaman niya. Kasi wala ka namang mabibiling automatic machines na ready to go over the counter. Kailangan i-develop pa yun. Saka mo malidisyon. Pero
lalo na for first introduction
correct,
here.
Correct. Pero hindi nga consistent ang Korte Suprema. Kasi doon, binasa nila desisyon sa facts, hindi sa batas. Ngayon, eto, ginagamit naman nila ang batas, hindi ang facts. So, kailan ba magkikaroon ng desisyon ang Korte Suprema na uniform? Yan, ito, this was just only January 2004. And that was just only about how many years of difference.
What I can say is this. Alam po ninyo, ang Korte Suprema ang pinakamataas na hukuman sa ating bansa. They may say something, but they can also apply it inconsistently.
Correct.
Okay? So, when they apply it inconsistently, kasi di naman kasi lahat ng desisyon ng Korte Suprema, ibig sabihin, dahil sa sila'y Korte Suprema, iyan ay tama. Pwede rin sila magkamali.
Exactly.
Kanya lang, sa ating paraan ng pamumuhay dito, at sa ating forma ng ng gobyerno, minsang mag-ruling ang Korte Suprema. That's it.
Correct.
Pero, of course, you can still appeal.
Yes.
Ha?
And then
To the Supreme Court as well. And even that rule of appeal to the Supreme Court, sabi dapat isang appeal lang,
motion for
o isang
reconsideration.
motion for reconsideration lang. Tapos nun, hindi na pwede.
Yeah.
Ay, sila mismo nagbabiolate yan eh.
Correct.
Kung minsan, 2, 3 motion for reconsideration na madating yan.
oo.
Why do they entertain it without explaining why they do so? So dito natin nakikita na kung minsan talagang problema yung issue yan. And we're going to have to try to see dito nga kuminsan either tataas ang paggalang mo sa Korte Suprema o babagsak ang paggalang mo depending upon how they conduct themselves.
Yeah.
So, yan ang ating problema na tinitingnan din madalas dito. And well, our other guest is, by golly, he's here. I'm glad he got through the traffic. Salamat naman, kaalad. Wala na pong iba kundi si Attorney Alan Pagya, constitutional lawyer. Tamang-tama entrada mo, kapatid. Kasi we're talking about some of the constitutional issues and then also how the Supreme Court functions. Because the Supreme Court junked the 4 petitions to restrain the COMELEC from buying the PCOS machines, no? Okay. My first question on that one really, kung tutusin mo from the beginning, ganito. I wanted to be able to give an ulat to the nation about ang dami nating nabasa, naalala mo nung nag-guest kayo dito, dami-daming issues. Meron ba at ano bang nagawa ng COMELEC to answer any of those issues bago nila binili itong system, na gumastos ng kadami-daming salapi, bago binili yung mga PCOS machines? Among them, 1, did anybody get a chance to do an independent review of the source codes for the software? Number 2, sa kanila ba yung software na yun? Because I keep reading that they have been sued in several courts in other countries and they have been disallowed to use the system. So ano ito? Bidili natin ang isang sistema at paraan ng pagboto at pagbilang at pagtabulate na wala silang karapatang ibenta at hindi naman pala sa kanila.
Pirata.
It's a pirate edition. You know, what kind of example are we as a nation setting dealing with these people? Number 3, lahat ng mga objections natin regarding the digital signature. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Tatanungin ng makina doon sa nagpapatakbo ng makina, do you want a digital signature? And ang instruction ng COMELEC, pindutin mo yung no. Tapos, ang copy ng makina, sigurado ka ba? Ang instruction ng COMELEC in the last election, pindutin mo naman yung yes, na sigurado ka. Ibig sabihin, walang digital signature yung tabulation for voting, no? So, number 3, na pwede ba na i-assign o i-subcontract ng COMELEC ang tabulation sa mga tao ng PCOS machines or Smartmatic at hindi sila, because under the Constitution, if I listen to some of my learned lawyer friends like you, they cannot delegate it. They must do it themselves. And there are quite a number of other issues, and until now, nobody knows if any of those issues have ever been answered. And we are now facing another election, which means, if nothing was done about them, that whole system is so manipulable and so much cheating can happen. So, Tony Allen, you've got the floor.
You're making a distinction between political considerations and technical correctness.
Because this problem involves both elements, and I hope that the people in the Supreme Court can understand both. Because if they don't, I hope they have the humility to ask and consult other electronic or semiconductor experts to assess the technicality of the objections that are being raised.
I think there is not much debate about the technicalities. I think you can overwhelm the Supreme Court with that. The problem is when a political decision has to be made, especially when deadlines have to be met insofar as the political exercise is concerned.
What you're saying is
the
it
Supreme Court
sacrifices the
will not
merits of the
obstruct.
It sacrifices the merits of the issue.
They will be content with less than perfect technical conditions.
Now, you know, the problem with that is you never know the point of the tipping point. You can say, I will be happy with a less than perfect, but a lot of it depends on how critical are the items. Now, do you remember in the last election, they caught in Antipolo, I think 41 or
60.
42 or 60 machines
50.
transmitting, but they were all unofficial machines. Nung nahuli yung mga makinang yan, aba, mainit na mainit. Bakit? Ibig sabihin, nagtatransmit. And then we had cases also where nagtatransmit yung makina, eh wala pang eleksyon eh.
The principle they will apply is the principle of the lesser evil. That may be true, but to them, the greater evil would be not to push through with an election. Using the PCOS machine because money has been appropriated for this. Not only appropriated,
But spent.
spent already.
Yeah.
Done deal, kumbaga.
Correct.
All right. But maybe the decision then should have taken the idea that we're letting it go, but we have to review it in order not to delay the election, except that it means you are legalizing all the nonsense that the COMELEC might be planning.
But that would be going into the wisdom of their decision, which is political and which is a matter of what's what you say and that's what they say. We can do better than that.
Okay.
We can examine their attitude insofar as finding wrongfulness or rightfulness is concerned. For instance, yung biruan yung sa Pilipinas, yung nananalo sa bilangan, eh iba dun sa nanalo sa botohan. Katulad nung kay Coco Pimentel, nanalo siya sa botohan, natalo siya sa bilangan. Pero ang masakit, nung makarating sa Korte Suprema, oo nga, nanalo na yung botohan, yung nanalo sa botohan, si Coco, naiupo, nailuklok. Pero ang hindi nasagot ng Korte Suprema, eh sinabi nila, may dayaan. Nadaya si Coco. Pero hindi nila sinabi kung sino yung nandaya.
At saka, walang naparusahan.
Wala.
Walang inimbestigahan ang COMELEC. So, yun ang mas masakit na ano. That is not speculation. That is a fact.
Yeah.
In other words, parang nagkaroon ka ng sakit, gumaling ka, so tapos na, hindi na balik kung ano yung sakit mo.
Parang ano yan eh, cheaper medicines bill. Sabihin nila, magandang legislation yan. Ang hindi nila, ang tanong ng taong bayan, eh yung cheaper medicines bill, kailangan ka pa magkasakit para makinabang ka. Dapat cheaper food bill siguro.
Alam mo, the question of how the Supreme Court should behave has always been a question. There are some who are for a liberal Supreme Court. There are some for a moderate Supreme Court. There are some for a conservative Supreme Court. And some of the old dictums of the Supreme Court are that, one, it does not rule on matters of fact, but on matters of law. And the matters of fact are litigated in the lower courts, the Court of First Instance, Regional Trial Courts, at saka Court of Appeals.
Executive agencies.
At saka executive agencies in administrative determinations. But there are times when they have made decisions when they have violated their own rules and dealt with issues of fact, not just issues of law. In the same manner that you're not supposed to file more than one motion for reconsideration, but they don't mind if you file 2 or 3 motions for reconsideration. They violate their own rules.
After a division has rendered a decision, the rule is that there is no appeal to the en banc. But they make exceptions as if it is in the rules, where it is not.
Yeah, just like the decision with that PAL stewardess.
Yes.
They changed it also.
Ilang beses
Exactly.
They made a decision and then they changed it short time. So where's the bias? is our court partial or impartial?
Well, alam mo, ang hirap natin na tingnan dito, sa akin, the area of bigger concern is that this decision of the Supreme Court leaves the COMELEC free to do whatever they like. And in the end, to me, the most critical point as far as all of our politicians are concerned is, can I manipulate the system in my favor?
Kaya nga,
That's the most critical point. Ngayon, kung yung sistema hindi matitino, that's why you don't see anybody in Congress or in the Senate taking on the COMELEC about it, because baka mamaya mapag-initan sila.
believe it or not, I talked to a young candidate for this coming election, local candidate. Alam mo, sabi niya sa akin, Attorney, ikaw may experience ka. Ako, konti lang experience ko. Pero yung gagastusin kong 5 o 10 milyon sa kandidatura, hindi ko nagagastusin sa pag-campaign. Kasi botohan yun eh.
Sa tabulasyon
Gagastusin ko na lang yan sa bilangan.
Wow.
Following the Coco Pimentel, Mig Subire example.
Okay, we have to stop for a few moments because we have a few reminders. Huwag po kayo mawawala. Babalik kami and we are going to begin to answer some of the texts that are already coming in. We'll be right back.